Bright Duty. Every student matters.
Why do you think the Windhover in particular inspired Hopkins to write this poem? So why do you think it was the Windhover only that the poet thought about when writing this poem? The reason I believe he is given in the first stanza of the poem very clearly. According to him, this bird is a very powerful bird. It is very strong. The bird has a good command over its wings and actually controls the air just the way a horse rider controls his horse. And he also calls, he also tells us in the first stanza that this bird is so strong and powerful that it can actually get through all the different speeds of the air as well with ease and comfort. Okay. So make a list of the different things Hopkins compares the Windhover to. What do these things have in common, if anything? What qualities do they reveal about the Windhover? So 3 questions are there in the same question. Let us talk about them in parts. The first one says, make a list of the different things Hopkins compares the Windhover to. So what are the different things Hopkins compared the Windhover to? The first was a horse rider and the second was a skater. What do these things have in common? What is the common aspect of these two, horse rider and skater? Both of them had the ability to control their vehicle. Okay. The horse rider knew how to control the horse and the skater knew how to control the skate. So that control was there. And what qualities do they reveal about the Windhover? What do we get to know about the Windhover from these from this comparison? We get to know that just like the horse rider and the skater can control their vehicle with utmost ease and power, similarly, the Windhover, using its wings, can stride over the air, can control the wind, which is considered to be the most powerful element of life. Why do you think Hopkins uses so many made-up words or familiar words used in strange and unfamiliar ways? How do these difficult words shape our understanding of the Windhover? So the first thing, why do you think so many made up words, rung and cillian, flawed, sheer, all these words were used by Hopkins. What was the reason behind that? The reason is that this is exactly what is the writing style of the poet. The poet is known for the usage of its difficult, strange and made up words. But every word that he made has some reference with the general, theme of the poem. For example, here also, as the second part of the question says, how do those difficult words shape our understanding of the Windhover? So what do we know about the Windhover from these words? These words actually tell us about the qualities of the Windhover only. Words like he wrung his rein on the winkling wing. So the word wrung over here tells us about the control that the bird has over his wings and onto the air. Then the word cillian, which has been used, it talks about the fact that it is only after hard work that you achieve something as smooth and shining as a cillian. So these words actually add on to the beauty of the poem and the Windhover. Hopkins demonstrated his own philosophy about the world. He believed that everything in the universe had unique individual characteristics. How does he bring out this view? Now this is something which Hopkins has actually talked about throughout the poem. He demonstrates his philosophy about the world. And what is his philosophy about the world? According to him, this world is intact, is flourishing, is growing, is beautifying itself, just because of the sacrifices that were made by our Chevalier, that is Jesus Christ. He believed that everything in the universe had unique individual characteristics. Indeed, it does. How does he bring out his viewpoint? So, in this poem itself, you can see he has described the Windhover using different and beautiful words. Similar is the case with the horse riding, or the skater, or even something as simple as an ember or a field. So all these 5 elements that he used in the poem, he has described them using and giving them specific characteristics, and this is what makes this poem so special and worth reading. Okay, list out the words that bring out the movement of the bird. There are multiple words in the whole poem. You have seen hurling, gliding. So, we have riding, then we have rolling, then we have striding, then we have gliding and hurling. So, these are the words that talk about the movement of the bird. Okay. What might the Windhover represent to the poet? So, according to the poet, what does the Windhover represent to him? As he has compared the Windhover to a chevalier, he has used the word chevalier for the Windhover. And this word chevalier in turn refers to Jesus Christ. So the comparison is quite evident that through the poem, the poet compares the Windhover to Jesus Christ, because according to him, just like Jesus Christ, went through so many pains and difficulties and problems in his life to shine the way he did and to do so much for the world. Similarly, this bird also is doing its best to shine, to dominate the other species of bird and to be on the top. Is there a shift in the tone of the poem? Where and how does the tone? Very clear, yes, there is a shift in the tone of the poem. And where is that shift seen? That shift can be seen after the first 8 lines of the poem. As I told you that this poem is basically a sonnet, and that sonnet also is divided into an octet and a sestet. So once the octet changes, in the octet the poet talked about the beauty of the bird, and once that octet came to an end, from the beginning of to the beginning of the sestet, he describes and compares the bird to somebody who's as precious and as sacred as. Explain the metaphor. Daylight's doffin, dappled dawn drawn. So like I told you, this metaphor here, the bird has been compared to a horse rider, that just like a horse rider has complete control over the spotted beast that it rides on, that is the horse. Similarly, our Windhover, which is considered to be the daylight's dauphin, that is the favorite, the morning's favorite, has complete control over the sky, in which the spotted clouds act as barriers, but this bird is drawn towards the morning and crosses all the obstacles and hurdles, and it controls the sky. Second is, and the fire that breaks from thee then. So this again the poet has used for the Windhover. The complete sentence was that the fire that breaks from thee then is lovelier and more dangerous, O my Chevalier. So here he says that the internal, the innate beauty that the Windhover has, is more beautiful and is more enthralling than what can be seen on the outer side of the bird. Okay. The poem the Windhover, to Christ our Lord, compares Christ's actions and movements in the world to the mastery, strength, beauty, and finesse of the bird whose unerring motions and sure sense of direction beautify creation and glorify God. Explain. Now the entire thing has been explained in the poem. It says that in the poem, the poet has compared the actions of Jesus Christ, whatever things Jesus Christ did for each one of us till the time he was there, and the movements in the world to the mastery. And somebody who becomes a master of something, how does his or her movements change? Strength and beauty. The strength of the bird, the beauty of the bird, and the finesse of the bird. Finesse refers to the overall, characteristic of the bird, which makes it so special and so unique. So, in this poem, the poet talks about the actions, the acts, the deeds of Jesus Christ, and the beauty, the strength, the finesse, the mastery of this bird, whose unerring motions and sure sense of direction. Unerring means something which does not scare you. Okay, so motions, whatever movement, whatever this bird did, very well indicated that the bird was not scared of anyone or anything. And there was a sure sense of direction that the bird had. The bird knew in which direction it was going. Whatever direction it went, it had complete control over that direction. Not only that, the bird controlled the direction of the wind as well. The wind, if the wind was stable, the bird would continue to roll over an area. If the wind was slow, then the bird's actions would depend accordingly. And if the wind was very high, then the bird would stride high in the air as well. So all these things only beautify and glorify God. They only tell us that God is somebody who can make anything possible. Jesus Christ is ultimately the God we are talking about in this poem. According to the poet, it is only because of Jesus Christ, as I told you, whose sacrifices, whose, the pain that he bore when he was alive, all the wounds, all the injuries that he had to face while he was there, that is the only reason why we are able to perceive the beautiful world the way it is. Had it been not because of his sacrifices, we would not have been able to experience the beauty of this. Okay. Reference to context. I caught this morning's minion, Kingdom of Daylight's Dolphin, dappled on drawn falcon in his riding, off the rolling level underneath him steady air, and striding high there, how he rung upon the rein of a winkling wing, in his ecstasy, then off, forth and free. So what did the poet see? What did the poet see? The poet saw the morning minion, that is the Windhover, the bird which is always seen in the morning time. What was it doing? The bird was striding, was hurling, was roaming around in the air as if it owned it. What does the poet compare it to? The poet has compared it to two things, the horse rider and the skater. He's only compared it to the horse rider. Brute beauty and valor and act, oh, air, pride, plume, hair, buckle, and the fire that breaks from thee then, a billion times told lovelier, more dangerous, O my chevalier. No wonder of it, sheer plod makes flow down Celian, shine and blue bleak embers, ah, my dear. fall, gall themselves, and gash gold for millions. So what does the poet compare the bird to over here? What is the poet comparing it to? It is comparing it to a knight. It calls it a chevalier. Explain the metaphor in these lines. So what is the comparison which is being made in these lines? Now if you remember, we have done this. This is the question exactly that we've done above. Explain the metaphor. So this is exactly the line we have in this stanza. And in this line, the poet is simply trying to compare the fact that this bird, or for that matter, anything in this world, has a billion times more beauty or more hideousness inside. What you are from inside is more important than what you portray outwardly. And here also the poet talks and compares this with the bird, the Windhover, who according to him was more powerful as it seemed to be. What is the poet's mood? How was the poet feeling at this time? Now in these lines, since the poet talks about the pain, the wound, the sacrifices of Jesus Christ, so we can say that the poet was actually feeling grateful. He was feeling thankful to Lord Christ. According to him, it was because of his sacrifices and his deeds that we are able to enjoy what we have. So my dear students, with this we come to the end of this poem. So we've explained to you the poem, we've discussed with you the poetic devices of the poem, and obviously we have discussed with you the back exercises also. Now there is one more poetic device to talk about, and that is in the second stanza, that is the sestet, wherein the poet has used alliteration. Alliteration is that poetic device in which the first sound of the word is repeated again and again. So if you see here, plod and plow, Celian and shine, blue bleak. Okay, so these are the examples of alliteration because the sound of per, the sound of sir, the sound of ver is being repeated again and again. So I hope, my dear students, the poem was very much clear to you.